Talk to him. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another week of hopefully what will be a set of good shows. This is the Late Night Show, Dr. Kojo. I'm your host, Kojo, checking in from sunny Los Angeles, California. This is the Late Night Show, so it's not going to be sunny right now. But it was a sunny and beautiful day out here in LA. Definitely enjoyed it, and I was productive for the most part. And I have a topic that I want to talk about, something that I've wanted to talk about for a while. I just really wanted to gather my thoughts on it. And now that I kind of really, I know where I want to go with this conversation, we can have this live. Before we start, obviously, go ahead and introduce yourself. Let me know where you're checking in from. And let's get started. So Cassandra, already knows the drill. Checking in from Canada. What's up? We got Brenda checking in from Orlando, Florida. Tanner says, this is the first live I was able to catch. All right, Tanner, so the pressure's on. If this is your first live, then hey, this is like my audition to see if I can keep you around as a viewer. I appreciate your attention for tonight. Leilani, what's going on? I am back. Southern Ohio in the house. I miss you, Beam. Oh, really? Oh, well, no, I'm not able to remember the name, but I feel like I gave my best for every patient. So, I miss all my patients. Atlanta in the house, Orange County, Poughkeepsie in the house. I used to not be able to pronounce that word, and now I know. Denver in the house, Olive Branch, Mississippi, Alabama, Central New York. Desiree, I appreciate your attention. Thank you. I appreciate you. We have Ava from Boston. Shout out to my YouTube community. We're getting bigger on YouTube now, and it's super cool. Mississippi, St. Paul. I thought St. Paul was Minnesota. Arizona in the house, Minneapolis, Alabama, Central New York, Buffalo, New York, Tennessee. All right, so we have people checking in from everywhere. Hampton Roads, the headband. Oh, this is a Braves headband. The Braves have been on fire as of late. So I gotta represent. Leesburg, Ali, much love. I appreciate your attention. Kansas, Milwaukee. All right, Alberta, Canada. Okay, so we have an international audience. All right, guys. Let me see. I love every one of your clips. But I cannot watch your lives because I can't get past the clapping and hands running. Oh, Jamie, well, hey, you know what? Hopefully I'll be able to segment my lives where maybe we can get out we can take off the clapping part for you. And I'm even thinking about doing that, So thank you so much. I really appreciate your attention, Ms. Jamie. People checking in from everywhere. All right, so my thoughts on this situation. So self-diagnosis, the internet, and my thoughts. All right, so it's kind of ironic for me to even have this conversation because I guess the criticism, and I'm not opposed to criticism. Like I actually like when people criticize me and say different things because it gives me a chance to sit down and evaluate and see where I can get better with the videos, right? Like I want to make it relatable. I want to make it funny. I want to make it something that will reach a lot of people. But I want it to be like evidence-based. Like I don't want to be misleading you all. And when I put out this information, right, we're able to get millions of people to watch it. And it's amazing because people will identify with something, right? For example, we're talking about ADHD here, and people will identify with the condition and say, oh, wow, I've been doing this for my whole life. And this is the first time that I feel seen. And that type of reaction, I like it because if you look at the normal or natural progression of things, somebody would see that and they would think to themselves, oh my goodness, this is me. And I think that if I get professional help, I can get to that next level. My ADHD might not affect my relationship or, my relationship with my boss, or it's not going to hold me back from reaching my full potential or depression, anxiety, whatever the case is, right? So I'm excited that I can be in a position to where I can put out this information and it's helping you all. Now, the downsides to it, right? There's downsides to everything is, of course, confusion with me, right? Sometimes people DM. I get hundreds of DMs every day of people asking, questions, most of which I can't answer, right? And most of which I'll never see because there's just so many coming in. But the overarching objective of my videos is to make you laugh and to, help reduce the stigma and hopefully eliminate it, right? And make people, more comfortable with going to get help, right? That if I was let's say seeing patients in your area, then all right, I see where that duality, I get it, but more than likely I'm not, so it puts me in kind of a weird position where somebody will look at me and say, "Oh, you're the one that's making people self-diagnose on the internet." And I've had some time to think about this, so I really know what I want to say in regards to this topic. Uh, this is gonna annoy me if I don't put it off. But in the United States of America, right? I know people are watching from Canada and other places, but in the United States of America, being able to receive a diagnosis when it comes to your mental health is a privilege, right? And that's a privilege that's not extended to a lot of people. A lot of people have to watch these videos, and they, whether it's a lack of access to resources or lack of finances, or maybe you're a teenager and like your parents don't like understand or value mental health. A lot of people feel like they're stuck, right? And the system that we have is not perfect. So to be able to receive a diagnosis is actually a privilege, in my opinion. And not everybody has that privilege, right? Not everybody is able to quickly, like the advice I give y'all, type in what, like, psychiatrist near me, or just go to your PCP and tell them what's going on so you can get a referral. Maybe they can treat you for what is, bothering you, right? Not everybody is able to do that. And then it leaves a certain group of people who will, let's say they watch my videos, right? And they're like, you know what? I know I have ADHD and anxiety, right? And they identify with those conditions, but they haven't received a formal diagnosis yet, right? And because of a lack of access to care or resources, it's going to be a while, right? We know it takes months for people to see a mental professional, right? That's something I don't like, in this country, and I'm trying to figure out what I can do, right? And I'm always here, I guess politicians or people who can make a difference. I mean, include myself. They know where to find me, but I'm always here, and I'm always looking to impact on a different level outside of social media. But a lot of folks, the main point is that a lot of folks are not able to get a diagnosis, and they resort to like self-diagnosing themselves, right? Saying, "Oh, I have this, I have that," and you live your life as if you have ADHD and anxiety, whatever, and you may actually have it. That's the thing. You could actually have the thing, but, and this is a big but, I need y'all to be like really hear me on this. But if you do not get that diagnosis validated by a mental health professional, then we're not so sure, right? We don't really know, right? Like we don't really know what's going on, So for me, when I see people, or the term self-diagnosing, I tell you all the time on the internet. I say, hey, if you need mental health services, right? Like look at this medium as more so like more or less entertainment, right? But I'm teaching y'all about mental health, right? But I'm using like entertainment and comedy and reels, to get to you. But when it comes to actual professional mental health help, right? You would need like somebody like me who is working in the professional capacity in your area, and that's who you would talk to, and they would diagnose you, and then so on and so forth, right? So if somebody identifies with a condition, so I don't really have an issue with self-diagnosing in the sense that I see it as people identifying with a certain condition, right? And that's the first step to getting an official diagnosis. But I always have to, I can't just leave it right there, right? Because it's kind of an odd thing for a board-certified mental health professional to say that, he doesn't have issue with self-diagnosing. But my thing is, if you identify with a condition, that could be the step one in changing your life, right? Because you're like, oh, something's going on. I think I need to, see like a professional and maybe get some help. A lot of people never reach that point. And I think that's why I have, 3 million followers online. A lot of folks never reach that point where they even know that something is going on. And without them knowing, they would never go get help. So I think that's the magic of what like a Dr. Kojo does online, right? But I do have to add that last piece in there where I'm like, all right, if you identify with a certain condition, like that's fine. But please, please, please get that valid diagnosis from a professional, right? And then the last piece of the puzzle is, how do I get that person who, identifies with a condition? How do I get that person in the chair of a professional, right? Like the space between those two right there is where the magic lies. And that's why I'm working on trying to figure that out. I don't have the answers to everything, and I definitely don't have the answer to that, right? So that's something I think about often. But that's why when I hear the term self, diagnosis, right? Like I kind of shut up. Or like I don't have too much to say because and it probably comes from my background as somebody who, didn't grow up with insurance. I felt like, and I told y'all that, I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was 25. And as a teenager or even in middle school, like I felt like asking my parents to go to the doctor's office was kind of selfish, right? Because we didn't have any insurance, we're trying to make ends meet, so I can relate to the person who cannot seek professional help, right? But then on the other side, as a professional now, I'm like, all right, we have to be careful going around saying that we have a certain thing unless it's been validated by a mental health professional, right? So it's kind of like a middle ground in there, and that's why I want y'all to, like, if you get it, you get it. But I'm kind of, let me get to some of the comments. Rebecca saying that education is very valuable. Rebecca, I think so as well. I think it's valuable, right? If you can get the attention of hundreds of thousands or millions of people, you can help to put people on and let them know, hey, check this out, check that out, right? And it's not like I'm beating you over the head with it, right? Like if you don't like the content, like people unfollow like all the time, and that's fine. But I think if I can put you in a position to take better care of yourself, then I've done my job. At least in this capacity, right? It's different if I move to like Texas or Nova Scotia and I start, like I set up a clinic there, and I'm in a different role. But at least online, like that's my objective, right? That's my objective. Brenda, I appreciate that, and it's funny because people will look at you differently. And as long as like you get what you need out of it, like I understand that when people watch something online, like you're gonna watch it selfishly, right? Like for the people who are watching this live right now, 231 people live right now, and then this doesn't even take into account the people who watch on the back end. Like there's a million things you could be doing right now. It's 11 o'clock on the East Coast, it's 8 o'clock here in California. I mean, Los Angeles is so exciting. You could be doing a million other things than to be watching Dr. Koja, right? But there's something that you want from this live, and everybody has to pull out what they need from it. And that's what I want y'all to do. Like take what you want from the lives, the videos, and figure out how to use it to help you out. I understand that the viewer is there for a reason, so that's why I try and, drive home to people. Ashley says, so how do you bring, so Ashley, look, within the context of this conversation, Ashley, if you're the person who you have like a professional you can talk to, you're good, right? Now, of course, it's how you bring it up to your doctor without sounding crazy. Now, it's your job just to bring it up. Like, it's not your job to do anything else. Like, you bring it up and you let your doctor know. If you don't feel validated, it might be time for a second opinion. Like, I think it's linear like that, right? But it's difficult, right? You have to work yourself up to be able to, say what you want to say, without, and I get it, like with something like ADHD, or I mean anything, right? But ADHD is the first thing that pops up to mind. You might feel like doctor thinks that you're drug seeking or something like that, especially if you're like a college kid on the campus, right? Like I definitely know where you're headed with that, right? Let me see. I hear, oh, Missy was probably talking to somebody else because she said, I hear you, girl. Okay. The problem is right. So look, we talked about this right here with I think it was borderline personality disorder that a lot of healthcare workers, do, like, how do I say it? Not a lot, some, because some healthcare workers have a preference for what people they want to work with. And when they hear something like borderline personality disorder, that's the first thing that comes to mind. That there's a stigma against. Sometimes they're like, oh, I'm so tired. I'm like, you went to school for this. Like the example I always give is like, if I take my car to a mechanic, and they're like, I'm gonna find a different mechanic. There's a million mechanics out here. Like, why should I be with you? Like, if I ask you to do your job and like I'm paying you, and you're like, this car, all right, I'll take my car to a different shop. So I think if you adopt that mentality, like, but then it's so hard to find a good therapist, right? Or a professional. So it's not quite the same, but it's similar, right? Hey, Ari, what's going on? How you doing? Ari checking in from YouTube. Let me get to some of these comments. They didn't want to truth us with BPD. Oh, treat us with BPD. Yeah, I don't get this, right? Like mental health is like is everything. You don't just get to pick and choose. I've never really had an issue, now with a patient who has borderline personality disorder. Would you maybe have to, be more intentional about the time spent with that person versus somebody who has like, let's say, depression where the symptoms, were in remission and the person's getting better? Yeah, like it'll take more to treat the person with BPD, but it's still your job, right? Like I'm a big fan of people who do their job, you know. Like if that's your job, like do your job, So do your job, right? You know, your videos have helped me. Jacqueline, I appreciate that. And see, like comments like this make me, not that I put too much like, stock in what people on the internet say, because that's never a good way to live, right? Like if I looked at a comment like this and I thought that I was the best thing smoking, I'm like, oh, I must be some hot shot. No, like I was able to help you out. I appreciate that. There's somebody who was like, oh, he's making people self-diagnose. I'm like, hey, well, if you left, like I appreciate your attention while I had you. But a comment like this is like this right here lets me know, okay, all right, I'm on the right track with the content. Like I'm on the right track because, not to say that if I didn't post videos, Jacqueline would never have had a diagnosis. I don't know. I mean, I would hope that somebody else would have posted something on Facebook or, but the fact that I was able to post something and help somebody connect the dots, like that right there, that's the magic, right? But it started with, I'm assuming, because I don't know Jacqueline, but I'm assuming that Jacqueline probably watched a couple of videos and was like, and as you're watching the videos, you feel like you're looking into a mirror, but then there's a video of somebody who doesn't know somebody who's never met you a day in your life, right? This is a complete stranger, right? Like I'm a stranger to you all, but like if y'all checking on the live stream every night, we become family, right? But initially, like we're strangers, right? And you're sitting there watching this video from this a random black guy in California. But as you're watching the video, you feel like a mirror is being held up to you. And you're like, that's it. Now I'm going to go to my doctor and ask about that. Now, if I can do that from the comfort of my home, that's a home run right there. So that's my objective, and I feel like I'm trying to like defend myself against people who are like, oh, you're making people self-diagnose. But like I get way too many DMs or comments about this. Like I was waiting for the day that I got to have this conversation, and I looked at my phone for show topics. I'm like, it's time. It's time. And it's time to have this, conversation. Leah says, yeah, I agree with Leah. Like if this is for anybody here, if you go to your doctor and, even if you have insurance, right, and the copay is like affordable or, this and the third, you go to your doctor and you don't tell the truth, it's almost like it's a waste of your money and or time, and your resources. Like you go, you're there for help. So if you're not comfortable talking to that person, I mean, maybe I guess stick it out for a little bit, right? But eventually you need somebody who you can talk to, right? Like you can't get the job done, right? You have to be able to talk to them. Oh, Chrissy, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Just let me click your comment. Chrissy, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Lisa, I appreciate you. Like I enjoy this thing, and we talk about like self-esteem, right? Like for me, self-esteem comes from doing something over and over with success, right? Even if I fail in the beginning. So that's how I feel like my social media journey has been, right? Like the first videos I posted, were like, and over time I'm like, all right, lighting, angles, a little bit of acting. Like I don't have to be, Matt Damon or Johnny Depp or, I hope we don't go to a Johnny Depp, ADHD side conversation, but you get the point, right? Like over time, I've really kind of found, like how to put the message out there. And people are watching, so I do appreciate that. Oh, Kendra, man, Mickey Ficky, yeah, I know, I am on late. I am on late. 10 p.m. in Indiana. Leah, I'm happy you caught me. I appreciate that. Maybe me going late allowed you to see it. Let me see. OMG, yes, have been pretty much dismissed twice. Now trying to get direction over potential ADHD diagnosis. Right. So this is why the internet is important, and look, we can go back and forth on this you have like the old school professionals and you have the new school professionals, right? And for us who are like in the, because I'm young, I say I'm in the new school, right? Like we're trying to convince the people in the old school. I'm like, hey, like you're so smart. Like I'm not the smartest person I know in the field. Like I'm probably like I'm nowhere in like even like the top half, in my opinion. There's so many smart folks, but if you hold all that knowledge in your head, and like who's gonna benefit from it, right? So I'm like, oh, let me learn from you, and let me figure out how to put it in a funny way or a relatable way and put it on the internet. There's a lot of magic in that, and I'm enjoying it. I think people are benefiting from it. Just like whenever I do get to look in the DMs, I'm like, man, like I should show my mom, this message so that way I can convince her that, like I am, doing some positive work out here in LA. So, you know, the risk is okay. People are like self-diagnosing, but then obviously if you watch my content, right? Like if you just take a reel, right, 9-second reel, you never came to a live or watched a live on the back end, you probably think that I'm trying to make people have I meant I'm not trying to make you have anything. I'm just trying to like make you laugh and like put you on game. And you're like, oh, okay, like that's what I need to work on, right? And now here I appreciate you. Brenda says, well, all right, okay, all right, sure. Let's role play. So I'm gonna pretend to be Brenda. I'm gonna do a bad job because like you asked me to play the role of a lady, right? But right, Brenda, let's say we're talking, right? Or Brenda, let's say you're Dr. Koja, right? Then I'm Brenda. I walk in and say, hey, my name is Brenda, and I've been going through a bit of a hard time, and I have a hard time explaining what I want to say. But as of right now, this is like what I know is going on, like in my words. Can you help me like put the pieces together? Like you can preface your statement by saying, hey, like I'm not the best at like really saying what's going on, but something is going on here, right? And then you use like little buzzwords here and there to kind of like cue like your doctor, your therapist in the right direction. But it's more so just being comfortable with that person, because think about it, when you're talking to a friend that you've known for years, like the conversation flows smoothly, right? But if you just met somebody, right, you're gonna try and fill them out like, all right, like like where does this person stand on things that I care about, like, and a lot of us here in America, like sometimes we want to make sure that the person has the same like political views or religious views, to really bring them in and let that person be family, right? And it's different like with a healthcare professional, but you want to get a little bit like you want to get comfortable. You want to get in there and really pick up on that person's vibe and be like, does this person, first of all, do they know how to work with somebody like me? Have they worked with people like me before in the past? And I wouldn't really trust the online reviews. It's so weird because it's like anybody can go online and say something. Somebody can go online and say Dr. Koda is the worst. I'll be like, that's a bull-faced lie. Like I gave it 110% with every single patient. Like I can't think of any patient that I just mailed it in. But people are entitled to their opinions, and that's fine. But sometimes you got to hop in and share yourself and really figure out what that professional is about. It's like dating, right? We talk about dating and we say, oh, dating is so frustrating. Guys say no good girls out there, and girls say no good guys, or regardless of like whatever your orientation is, like whatever you're into, you say, oh, there's not enough of this out there, right? Because you have to go through so many people sometimes to get to like someone that you can like vibe with, and finding like a therapist is very much like that, So if you go in there thinking that it's going to be one take Drake and you find somebody like day one, I mean, you could in the perfect world, if I could press a button and then let that happen for y'all, I would do it. But like I can press this button and nothing's going to happen, right? I wish I had all these videos. I wish I had these videos when I was a teenager. This would have helped so much. I dealt with a lot of stuff. As I got older, I realized it had to do with not dealing with anxiety, ADHD. So, Taco Kev, I'm happy that you said this. This is actually one of the reasons why I make the content, right? Because I think to myself, I'm like, man, like when I was a teenager, like I would have eaten this stuff up. Like if I was a teenager, I would have DM'd Dr. Koja. Like whoever Dr. Koja would have been would have had to have replied to me because I would have DM'd every single day. So I think like teenager. Parents didn't have the resources, we didn't have no insurance. Like I would have been all over like Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, Snapchat, wherever these like short videos are being posted, I'd have been all over it. Drew, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Um, and oh, Ashton, you know, it's not discouraging. It's more so. Well, it's a little discouraging. I ain't gonna lie to you, but it's more so like puzzling. You know, it's puzzling because I'm like, you know, like in all the videos, like I put out the disclaimer, like you know, not professional advice, educational purposes, you know, like you know, evidence based information. Like I use all the right buzzwords, you know. So it's frustrating when like you have to explain yourself over and over, you know. But like look, there's two sides to the conversation. There is something wrong with somebody like reading something on the internet, right, and then saying I have schizophrenia because I watched this thing online, and then you never make an attempt to go like validate the diagnosis, and you start to live your life based on the assumption that you think you have schizophrenia, right? Now that you know, like I'm not gonna call you out, but I'm like, all right, I wish we could do a little bit better, right? But if you identify with something and you're like, oh, I'm 95% sure I have this, but let me just double check with a professional, then we're on the same page. We're on the same page. This one be and Corey, I think this right here, like I think, and it's funny because they don't teach you this in school. You know, I was not taught this in school. Like, I mean, you know, you learn about, you know, nah, they don't teach you this in school. Like, there's certain like soft skills that I don't know if any school could prepare you for. Like, you just have to know how to work with people, right? And like, I didn't wake up as some natural. Like, it's trial and error, you know. But you have to know how to work with people of all different backgrounds. And when you do that, you'll learn that people just want to be heard, you know. Because like I've had patients who, you know, patients come in hostile and they're like, I need this, I need that, and like immediately I'm like, there's no way that we're gonna do this, right? Or I'm like, we don't give Xanax for bipolar, right? You know, or maybe there's some panic disorder there, or some if there's an indication. All right, let's, you know, but like if something's not like how you practice, I'm like, I'm just gonna tell you like that's not what we do. But I'll hear you out, like I'll let you talk, you know, and like just by letting somebody be heard, you go a long way. And I think if more people knew that, you wouldn't have as many disagreements, right? Or we could learn to live with people who don't agree with what we're saying, right? It's not always about being right, you know. Now, do I want to be right all the time? Yes, but like I can let that slide if it's not like the most important thing, you know. And it's not the most important thing. Trevor, I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Trevor. You Coley Name Senior, Facebook user. I appreciate you. Ariana, I appreciate that. Good night from Florida. If you have to check out, I get it. It is late tonight. It is late tonight. Leilani, I appreciate you. Thank you for being an OG. Sharon, I say what 35 times. But like the disclaimer, I'm pretty sure I say it often. You know, 11 in Michigan. What's up, neighbor? I'm in California, but we're still neighbors. Sharon, I appreciate you. You know, I'm glad you're on late. Yeah, like I had to come on. Well, I didn't have to come on late today, but I had so many things to do, and I was in the rhythm. I'm like, all right, I gotta knock this out before I break my focus. And I'm just gonna go on live a little bit later. But I'm like, you know, and even last week Thursday, I didn't do a show. I'm working on something pretty exciting. That it will hit you all here on Facebook. For those who are watching on Facebook, or if you follow on Instagram, I got something pretty cool coming starting July. That's what I'm working on. It's going to be exclusively for Meta platforms, Facebook and Instagram. So, but I have something else coming from my YouTube community as well. So you know, you might want to follow me on all the different platforms. Monica, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. It's helped. Not to my knowledge, Andrea, you know, but you could have ADHD and be anxious about things in general, which could include health anxiety. You know, like I see that a lot. You know, but like you don't have to have health anxiety to have ADHD. It's not part of the criteria, if that makes sense. If not, let me know. I'll slow down and flip it and reverse it. Alternatives to medication. Alternatives to medication of what? If I could make more videos about that or elaborate on that, like let me know. But I talk. I think I talk a lot about. I think, but if there's a room for improvement, let me know. I would definitely say having someone there to help explain, give another. Leilani, I appreciate that, but like I like content coming from all different directions, right? Maybe somebody else posts about ADHD and they have their own little take to it. Like everybody has their own little, take to it, and that's a cool thing with like content creation. Like somebody come up this way, and though sometimes I'll watch a video like, oh, like it's like you're holding up a mirror to me. I'm like, oh, that's dope. So the more provided that it's evidence-based information, right? Because like I said, like it's cool to make it entertaining and funny, and sometimes you have to do that, right? Now I enjoy doing that regardless, but sometimes you have to do that to get the algorithm to like kick in for you, and then you can reach a lot of people, and then you can educate, and then like push your message. But you gotta be crafty, like that's the thing. You gotta be really crafty. I've been to this site so many times in life, struggling mental health, and felt so alone. Trying to power through it myself. Videos help me know. Chrissy, I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. And I've learned a lot through the pandemic, and we're still not like fully out. Hopefully one day I won't have to keep saying that. I can talk about the pandemic in like a past tense, but we're not there. Hopefully we're almost there. But I've learned, throughout the pandemic that it's not a good feeling to think that you're the only one going through something, right? Like if you're struggling with undiagnosed ADHD, or if you're struggling, with being afraid to take a new medication, or you're afraid to go to the doctor's office, or social anxiety's kept you in the house, or depression has prevented you from brushing your teeth for like 4 days, right? Like you're not gonna tell somebody that unless you're really close with them, right? So much that like shame shuts down. Like you can't even like live your life to the fullest, And I know fullest is not a real word, but you get the point. You can't even like live your life and be free if you're worried about shame. So having people understand what you're going through, it means that like for some people to understand certain things, you're like, all right, you had to have either gone through this or somebody who went through it. But either way, you can relate, and that helps you feel a little less lonely. So that's what I'm trying to do here with the videos. Diane, appreciate you. Preach. It's critical to have for people to have someone to turn on to for mental health problems, especially young people. It's hard to talk to friends and family about these things for many reasons. I wish there had been someone like you to turn to as a teenager. I have to respect. Nova Scotia. I did mention Nova Scotia earlier. Diana, I appreciate that. And like there's I can think of one lady right now. She DMs me on Instagram every single day, and I'm gonna have to just send her a video message soon. She DMs me every single day. Instagram has been going on for like three or 4 months, and she'll leave like a little motivational message, like like this in this season, like take care of yourself, or so like I'm gonna surprise her. I don't know her name, but I'm gonna have to surprise her, find that thread, and just send her a video message. And I think it's because if somebody watches the video, they're like, you know what, I think I could send a message to this guy, or talk to him. Like a lot of the DMs I'll never see, right? But it may be cathartic to send something. And I'm not saying you should send it because I can't legally tell y'all, hey, send me your information. I can't do that. You'll never see me tell y'all to do that. I'll just keep it to content and keep making y'all laugh and have a good time and push the message. But it goes to show that people don't have people that they can talk to about certain things in their life, right? And that sucks, right? Because imagine being close. Look, you could be close to somebody and you could have known them for years, right? But y'all talk about the same things over and over, right? Celtics and Warriors, LeBron versus Michael Jordan, or Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard, or what's going on TV, or this shoe versus that shoe, Balenciaga, and Cart, But like that same person that you could talk to about all those things, right? Let's say you have a panic attack, or something is a little bit off, or you're a little depressed. Can you talk to that same person and say, hey, I've been struggling, without it being weird, right? Now you probably could, and like it'd be cool if people were able to have more of those conversations. But when people feel like they can't talk about those things, then I mean, you'll have friends that you talk to them about everything, but like some of these important things, right? And some people you just like small talk it up, and then you'll look for somebody who you can talk to about these things. But if you want to get to know somebody, right, like you don't have to be dating them. If you want to get to know somebody on any type of level, like I had this convo with my sister the other day, like to want to get to, and I think I mentioned it on live because when she told me, it blew my mind. But like for somebody to say, or at least for me, right? Maybe it's just a me thing, But if somebody, let me put it this way: let's say I'm dating somebody, right? I'm dating the top model in LA or whatever, Just think of a beautiful woman in your mind, right? For her to say, "Oh, I love you," I'm like, okay, that's cool. You hear that. But for somebody to say, "Oh, I want to get to know you. The things that matter to you matter to me. I'm genuinely curious about you." Like that's like uh, that's that's a deep form of love right there, right? And if you're talking about that and you want to get to know about somebody, you can't get to know somebody on that like intimate of a level without learning about how anxiety affects them, about how postpartum depression affects them, about how ADHD affects them, about how these topics that nobody wants to talk about, right? Because if you're their person, right, it would help if you were able to talk, amongst yourselves about things that like really, really, really matter. Not to say that the Celtics and Warriors don't matter. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm going to watch Game 3 of the NBA Finals, and then I'm going to come back and talk about was Steph Curry better than Magic Johnson. Like, I'm going to do all that, right? But all I'm saying is that like when you're in a pinch and you need somebody to go to, if you have people that want to hear you out, like that, that's another way of saying I love. That's almost better than somebody saying, "Oh, I love you," right? People say I love you, and then they break up with you next week Thursday, right? You have to go back and live your life, you know. Sharon, I appreciate you. Oh boy. Leilani, yeah, I saw. So it does help that like you come on the live stream, so I saw your name, So go to the email. I'm like, all right, I can reply back to Leilani. Let me, do it real quick. And once again, you emailed me because I didn't go live, And then I looked at my DMs, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, are you going live? Are you okay?" I'm like, "Oh, damn." Like, I guess I do post every day, So I appreciate that too. Dating. Ooh, Kenneth. Mickey Ficky. It's wild because I've thought about this before. And I've thought about this too many times, like a dating site or something where there's something there. And even if I'm not the one who creates it, like, I don't know. Like I don't know if I would create a profile, but like I would hop on the app, maybe use a fake name or something or a fake picture, and just learn how the ADHD dating website works. Bridget, I appreciate you. Although I think you're cool as shit, you're putting a lot on something. You can say something, but I hope you do. Please. Oh, so Bridget, I do want you to know this, and I'm happy that you mentioned this. Actually, thank you for your comment. Right, like I like all different perspectives. My thing is, I'll put out a video or I'll go live, and then I'm okay with the result. I'm not outcome based, right? And I'm happy you mentioned this because this is a good teaching like moment, right? I used to be outcome based, and switching it from doing the thing and give myself like a pat on the back has helped to relieve so much anxiety, right? It's like, let's say I take a test or something like that, right? My happiness, like that's actually how I went through school, at least for maybe the first 23 years of my life, right? My happiness is dependent on the fact that I pass this test, right? You ask out a girl, right? My happiness is dependent on the fact that, oh, she says yes. Or she says no, then I'm crushed. I don't like myself for 2 weeks until I talk to somebody else and she shows interest, right? Like you see how that type of thing goes. So when you're outcome based, I feel like you set yourself up for a lot of pain, and that could be a good point for people to take, and with this platform, there's too many people. Like it's 3 million people now. I got like 6 assistants who help me stay organized with things. Like, like we do the best that we can, right? I make content that I also enjoy making, so that way it's fun for me. I put it out there. I'm cool with it. If it doesn't go far, cool. If it goes far, cool. And I'm fine with it. We have a cutoff time every day. After that time, we go to bed. We're not gonna sit up trying to do much. And even with my assistants, I don't want anybody to outwork me. But I talked to my publicist today. I'm like, what? Hey, let's take a break. Let's maybe 4-day work week, or let's relax. We don't have to like be on go all the time, right? But I do appreciate this comment, right? And it's going to be a group effort. Like I said, even when people are in the chat and they're talking amongst themselves, they might reach out to somebody who I would never see their message, right? So to put yourself in like that savior mode, no, that's actually not mentally healthy for you. It's not mentally healthy for anybody at all. So the best you can do is like do what you can and be out and have a life. With my team, I want my team to have a. That's why we don't work on weekends. I want them to have a life outside of this. Like you need to be going. I mean, whatever you want to do is fine. If you go to the bars or you go to the park, or like we need to have a life outside of this. Like you cannot have a 24/7 like mental health awareness thing. And if you tell people that, they'll be like, "Oh, so you're not passionate about mental health?" I'm like, no, like I'm passionate about mental health, but like I'm gonna have a life. I'm gonna travel. I'm gonna do things. I got vacation set up. I'll go check out New Orleans sometime this summer. Like you have to have a life outside this type of thing. And whatever people say about you enjoying life is, hey, that's it is what it is, right? You can't worry about that. You can't worry about that. East Coast is. I have enough assistance right now, but if we need any help, I will let y'all know. I feel like I need a therapist or someone to help me with ADHD. I struggle with MS. Right. So Ellie, look, if you even feel like this, I'm like, all right. Like I feel like I did what I had to do, right? Like if y'all like look at me as a point guard, right? We've been talking about Steph Curry and Magic Johnson. I'm a point guard. This is my job to bring the ball down the court. These videos, I'm bringing the ball down the court. I'm dribbling it, and then I'm gonna dish it to you, right? And I want to give you an alley-oop, right? To where all you have to do is just dunk it. Literally, like I did the work, I did the research, I dribbled the ball down the court. All you have to do, take this little paper towel or whatever. All you gotta do is dunk it. That's all you have to do, right? And dunking is the equivalent of talking to your doctor, right? Provided that you have one, but like I already let you know what could be going on. You just have to like slam dunk it, and then you should be good from there. We would hope if it was a perfect world, I wouldn't even have this platform because we wouldn't have any mental illness. Thank you for the videos. Andrea, I appreciate that. I try to keep the terminology like super simple. Oh, we're at the 43-minute mark. Okay. Somebody dropping the the magic word. Dropping the magic word. If you know the magic word. Watching you has saved my relationship. She understands what I'm going through, and I finally understand myself. Thank you. I appreciate that. There's been a lot of folks who have said this comment, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, man, like I might have to, go into the relationship coach space, not that that's something that I want to like stick myself into that little niche category, but it's amazing how many times I've seen this, but also sometimes, like if you start watching, like if you watched my how to set boundaries series, like if you watch that and you start to set boundaries with people in your life, some of them may have left, right? So for every person who says this, maybe somebody's like, hey, like, you ruin, but for me, like I would rather be by myself than be disrespected, but it takes time for people to get there in their journeys. Cheers. Before the cheers, thank you, Leilani. My dog had her birthday yesterday. She turned 2 years old. Happy second birthday to Zoe Shiesty. That's my dog for real. A stubborn dog, doesn't listen all the time, but that dog does care for me, and it means a lot. So happy second birthday to my dog, Zoe Shiesty. Now it's time to drop the magic word. Cheers. Oh, Kendra, yeah. Tomorrow's what, Tuesday? I'll be on here. Cheers. That was a light clap for that person who said that the claps didn't, it was phasing them, right? So that's a light clap for them, and then a bigger clap for the people who enjoy the regular claps. Right. So it's funny. Like I didn't even think about this when I started doing the water break, Chrissy. But then over time, I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's just me and my ADHD and like forgetting to eat sometimes or forgetting to drink water. But a lot of us don't really drink water like we should, right? And of course, there's such a thing as too much. You can drink too much water, right? Your sodium level drop. Like too much water is not a good thing. But I feel like a lot of us, and I'm not going to put a number on it, but a lot of us don't drink enough water. So the water break is therapeutic now. Water break is therapeutic. Water break is therapeutic. Let me click what Marcus said before we get out. I hope you highlight this comment. Well, it's highlighted now. My therapist taught me this technique for when you're overwhelmed or stressed or anything of the sort. Tap on your sternum repeatedly. Say all reversals. Pause and reverse right now. Say 35 times while tapping. You should feel calmer. Okay. I mean, if this helps out somebody, like I'm leaving it here for a little bit so that way people can, maybe check it out. Like it's not professional advice, but it's something that Marcus's therapist told him. So I hope it can be helpful. When I look at it, my first thought is this is too many instructions, right? But if I was in the room with Marcus's therapist and like we did it all together, I'd probably feel a lot calmer. All right, okay. So I was about to get up, but let me talk about this real quick. Make sure. Cool. All right, real quick. Do you think ADHD makes people harder on themselves? In my opinion, I think so. I think. Well, reverse. It may not make people to where they're harder on themselves, but it puts you in a position to where you could be harder on yourself, right? Like not dealing with rejection well, right? Maybe mood swings or frustrations, or people call you moody or sensitive. You could get to the point where, you learn how to show grace to other people, but for yourself, like you're super hard on yourself. I would not be surprised if that was the case. Like you really, really have to, like reparent yourself, right? I see that term being going around. Like you have to you can't. I mean, like now if you have parents who really, really drill that in your head as a kid, like, hey, self-esteem, like positive self-talk, eliminate negative self-talk, eliminate self-limiting beliefs. If you have parents who are good on that, then like you're probably further ahead than all of us collectively. And my mom did a lot of that. She did a lot of positive, like reinforcement and positive self-talk. We didn't call it that, right? Because I didn't know she was doing that, and I don't think she knew either. But she was very intentional with what she would say to us as kids. But I do think that just by having ADHD in itself, like you could be hard on yourself. Like you have to learn, like literally, like us being grown adults, we have to learn to be like, all right, I'm gonna chill out. I'm gonna take a break. Like I had to learn this. So everything that I do, like I don't like I said, I'm not outcome based. After I do it, I'm okay. I schedule break days. Even back when I was working in forensic psychiatry, I would cut my Wednesdays in half, right? I would get somebody to cover for me, and I would sleep on Wednesday mornings every other week. It was like my little self-care day, and I would get to the hospital at like maybe 1 p.m. and then like I was refreshed, and then I'm smiling, like joking with the patients because I took care of myself, right? And now I have like a cutoff. Like today I've done everything. So after I get done, walk the dog, let the dog pee, I'll probably hop in bed by 9 o'clock California time after I check a couple of things real quick. So you have to really learn how to like be kind to yourself. I think everybody kind of struggles with that, but then with ADHD, I think you're in a position to where you could struggle a little bit more. This is a good question. This is an advanced question right here, Brittany. This is a good question. I like it. Thank you for sharing. Oh, Missy, no problem. I appreciate it. I appreciate the attention. I love doing this, show for y'all. And another thing about even doing a show and going live is like with my schedule getting like busier and me having to travel to places, I'm like, oh no. Like I thought about it one day and I was a little sad. I'm like, man, it may come a time where like I'm not able to go live as often or at all, you know. But you know, while we have it set up like this, like we're not gonna let anxiety get the best of us. We're not gonna think too far into the future. We're just gonna rock with what we have today and just have fun, right? But even if you know my schedule shifts and like I'm everywhere, I'm still gonna find a way to engage, right? If anything, just do like the little 15-minute lives, hop on my phone. But this is fancier, you know. So this looks like more official. Like I like the aesthetics of this more than just doing that, you know. And yeah, treat yourself like you would treat a child. Like whenever somebody does something to a child, and you know, like when things happen to kids, like we feel it. We're like, no, you can't do that. Treat yourself the same way, right? Treat yourself the same way. All right. And Leilani, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Misty, I appreciate you. And last one, real quick. Brianna saying tips for motivating oneself to work out. This is my trick, real quick. Go to the gym, like, clock in, like, sign in, go to the gym, and stay for like 10 minutes. And after that, allow yourself to go home, right? And my guess is if you go for 10 minutes, you see people working out, you're gonna start working out, right? You're gonna see like some girl who has like the IG body or whatever, and you're like, oh, I wanna, let me start working. Something will motivate you. So a lot of times starting is the hardest part. So I'm gonna let you know that. But Casey, I see. Cheers. All right, y'all. So I'm signing off. I'll be back on tomorrow's Tuesday. Yeah, be back on tomorrow. So and then Wednesday is my trash day. Okay, I thought tomorrow's trash day. Wednesday's trash day. It's good to be aware of that. All right, y'all. Take care. I love y'all, and I will see y'all tomorrow. Peace. Check yourself. Treat yourself.